If you're a filmmaker, or maybe you're considering starting a career in filmmaking, there is a very high likelihood that at some point in your career, you're going to film an interview. It just kind of comes with the territory. It could be one-man band, small one-man band stuff, to all the way up to like a big crew, whatever the case may be. Like I said, kind of comes with the territory. Well, we just finished doing a little 2-camera talking head interview style setup, and be kind of cool to make a little breakdown video for you, just kind of how we kind of the thought process to it and setting it up and lighting and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, figured it'd be fun to do. And since there's not a single video like this on YouTube, I figured, you know, why not put it on YouTube for everyone to see. All joking aside, let's just go ahead and jump into it. A little backstory. This video, the project was scripted, meaning there was a teleprompter on the A-cam, and then obviously we had a B-cam to the side, but there's a teleprompter on the A-cam, and then it was themed around football, so that's kind of why we're in a locker room and all that kind of stuff. Producer did a really good job of finding a location and wardrobe and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we're really excited how it turned out. So anyways, I'm gonna break this into 3 sections. I'm gonna do a camera placement, number 1. Number 2 is going to be lighting, and the third is going to be audio that I'm just going to briefly touch on because I wasn't running audio. We actually had somebody running sound for us, which is really awesome. If you can have budget for that or have somebody to run audio independently, it's awesome. So yeah, just going to briefly touch on audio. Now, I am listing these in a specific order because this is kind of the thought process we have going into a shoot. First, you get your framing. Second, you light that framing, you light that shot, and then you get your audio when your talent gets in, all that kind of good stuff. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. First is camera placement. So as soon as we walked into the room, we filmed in a locker room. We had 2 options. We could either film outside on a football field, which summer in Charleston, no thanks, too hot. So we had a locker room. First thing we did was we kind of shifted things around and started to figure out where exactly we wanted to have our shot. And we knew we wanted a couple things. We wanted to have some leading lines, and we wanted to have some depth to the shot. That being said, we kind of started looking around the locker room to figure out where the best shot would be. Now the room was kind of rectangular, it wasn't a perfect square, so we decided to shoot down the long end of the locker room. Now this locker room was basically had 2 sections. It was the room, and it was basically split in half by a row of lockers in the middle of the room. So we just decided to shoot on one side of the locker room and kind of shoot down that aisle and let the 2 rows of lockers on either side kind of be our little alleyway for the interview. So in order to get that depth that we were looking for, we decided that we were going to have the talent sit as close to the front end of the room as possible to add more depth to the back. Then there was a cool little helmet rack, a football helmet rack, that we kind of pulled into the very back of the shot just to add a little bit more visual interest to the shot. I think it turned out looking really cool. So I guess a little of that was set design, but once we had the A-cam kind of set up where we wanted it, we kind of figured out what we wanted to have kind of in the shot to kind of make it a little bit more visually pleasing. And like I said, with leading lines, with the way we set the camera up, you had those leading lines on the lockers to kind of help bring the focus into the talent, which is really cool. Always great to use leading lines when you can. So we got the A-cam set up. We're on a 25mm lens. Again, this is where the teleprompter is, so the person speaking is going to be speaking right into the lens. So we've got that all set up. We're really happy with it. So the next thing is to set up the B-cam, and the B-cam is to be able to cut away for whatever reason, whether it's to cut for the edit or to cut over for side thirds or whatever the case may be. We had to set up a B-cam. So we set that up to the right of the A camera, and what that allowed us to do, we knew where the key light would be coming from, and we put the B camera there so that we could film into the shadow side of the talent's face, which really kind of makes it just a little bit more visually pleasing, adds a little bit more character, a little bit more shape and dimension to the shot. It just looks a little bit more, a little too flat when you shoot on the key side of the talent's face. So now we've got the camera placement, really happy with that. The next thing to do, and this is the big thing, is to set up the lighting. So first thing we did is we cut off all the lights in the locker room, and this was pitch black. Now this is actually really beneficial because there are no windows in this room, so that means we had complete control over the whole scene. So the first thing we did is we put up our key light. We used an Arri Sky panel, S60, and we had a Chimera pop bank on front of it. And what we did is got it as high as we could and then tilted it down. But we wanted the light source to be a little bit bigger, so we put a 4x4 scrim gym. If you don't know what that is, just a 4x4 frame, and then we put a half stop grid cloth on front of that. So we positioned the light about 45 degrees off the talent, and what that gave us was a nice Rembrandt lighting on the shadow side of their face. And when we were filming on the B cam, nice shadows and stuff on that side of the face. Now, there was a blue locker right next to the talent, behind the talent. So what we did is we put up a black duvetine and just kind of draped that down, just gaff taped it to the locker and served as negative fill. And the reason being is because that blue locker was shining, reflecting blue light back onto the shadow side of the face, and it just didn't look really pleasing, didn't look really that good. So we put that negative fill up to kind of capture that light, and that way that light was not going to be a problem on the shadow side of the face. So because there was so much depth and so much room behind the talent, that big light source, it really fell off pretty quickly out into the back, kind of the back part of the room. And so that sky pen, even though it was a big light source, it really looked like it was, we didn't have any grid on it, but it looked like it was kind of focused on the talent, which is really good. That was the goal. But we wanted to add some more light and some more dimension into the back. So what we did is we actually put up a few Astera Titan tubes, and we got them on C-stands and kind of hung them over just out of frame to kind of mimic the fluorescent light bulbs, fluorescent tubes that were in the ceiling. We put one right behind the talent about 4 feet, and what that served as was, it kind of looked like a light just overhead, but it also served as a hair light and just added a little bit more separation from the background, which is really helpful. And but it also served, you can kind of see the edge of the center bench in the shot. You can see it's just catching the edge of that, and it kind of looks a little bit spotty, as if it were, its own light source. And then in the very far back where the helmets were, we had 2 more Astera tubes. And they were just both to just light the rack of helmets. And then what we did finally is we actually put an Astera Titan tube in a locker right by the talent, just to kind of bring exposure up inside the locker, to kind of bring the exposure up on those black jerseys, which was pretty cool, just to kind of lift exposure. Now we had that sky panel, that key light was already kind of hitting and falling off onto that locker, so we just kind of motivated that a little bit more, and just kind of added a little bit exposure into those lockers, just to kind of bring out a little bit of detail in there. And then I had an Aputure MC on hand too, so I just kind of has magnets on the back of it, so I slapped that in the locker as well, in the next locker, just to bring up exposure in that one as well. So yeah, that's the lighting portion of it. So the very final thing was audio, and like I said, I'm going to briefly touch on this just because I didn't run sound or anything like that, but we had a Sennheiser boom overhead, and then we put a lav mic just on the talent, just under the shirt, just to have 2 sources of audio. But then the final thing we did is we put some sound blankets on the ground right below the talent, just because we were getting some echo, and that really helped out. And actually the duvetine that we hung up is a negative fill, and also the 4x4 scrim gym that we had was actually really helpful, and kind of created a mini sound booth, if you will. So it really helped create less echo, less reverb, and all that kind of stuff in the room. So it definitely helped out there. And that's pretty much all I'm going to touch on audio. Like I said, I didn't run sound, so that's pretty much all I have on it. Not that sound is any less important, but I wanted to kind of focus on the lighting and the camera aspect of this video. So anyway, guys, I hope you found that helpful or useful and anything like that. If you did, let me know in the comments below. If you didn't find it helpful, also let me know down in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Peace.